Hello, Forecaster here again, and we are back for episode 136. Now, there's a bunch of things that have happened that we're going to go over in this episode. The first one is that I'm making another freezer because I have, well, one is not enough. It keeps filling up and I would like some more space. Now, making a freezer is not super easy. It requires an esky, which requires 3 snow blocks and a chest and some lapis. This is pretty easy. The freezer itself requires 4 iron blocks and some ice, and the esky, of course, which is what I'm doing right now. Now, I have some ice from before, which you know, I could make this rot. Yeah, that might be interesting. I could make ice blocks and snow blocks rot. Now, technically they don't rot, of course, but I can make them decay into, well, nothing, probably, if they are left lying around outside of an esky or a freezer. So, I'm not actually sure I have enough iron for this, because, well, I don't actually, because I'm very low on iron. So I'll probably have to put this off until I've mined up more iron, I guess. Oh well. Now, as you can see, we are completely out of oil. It turns out it looked like the reservoir was almost full before, and that was because of the gas lift's terrible handling of flowing blocks. As you can see, I put in a Railcraft pump, and it cleared away all of the flowing blocks, and left nothing. So the reservoir was probably completely empty. It just looked like there was stuff in it because the gas lift doesn't clear flowing blocks at all. So we have a new setup here. Now we do have fuel still, of course, and of course this has died again because of that bug. Let's see if we can turn these on again so you can see how much fuel we have. Well, approximately. Come on. Let me click the block. There we go. And that's it. Now we can go up and check the readout. I think it should be 40%. Yes. So we have somewhere between 40 and 60% of the fuel reservoir full. I should probably calculate how much that is at some point and have a sign here with those values, but no matter. So, because of the sudden fuel shortage, I have shut down the boiler permanently. So we are now running the entire base off of the nuclear reactor all the time. It should be fine. What are you doing? You on? Let's turn you off. I should probably put a gate. As you can see, I put an electric engine down because I realized that once I turned the boiler off and it shut down completely, I had no kinetic energy left, no RF. So my laser stopped working and my rock crushers stopped working as well, of course. So I put in an electric engine to fix that. I need a gate to control that. I can probably take one of these actually. Come on. Let's put this here. Set this to redstone signal when power requested. I also fixed this because what I didn't realize when I had the gate here is that it also detected this tank, obviously, and so it always thought there was fuel. So I had to put this gate here, so it's only next to the boiler. So now it properly detects whether there is fuel or not. Then it sends a red pipe signal to this gate, which controls the fluid hopper. Now I have the lever on, of course, which keeps everything off. So we have no steam, we have no power going out of our turbine. So this is entirely controlled by the reactor, or powered by the reactor. We're probably going to want to upgrade the coolant system to use steam turbines instead of the heat exchangers to get more power out of it, to extend the life of the reactor. Not that I'm short on uranium fuel. I have an entire drawer full of the stuff. 32 stacks, I think. Or is that 64 stacks of 32? Because it doesn't matter. Yeah, that's 64 stacks of 32, I think. Yes. And then there's some extra in here because the drawer is full. So yeah, no surge on fuel there. So I decided to shut down the boiler to save the gasoline because I need it for other things like the crucible furnace and the my blast furnace up here that I use to make steel. Speaking of steel, I have I've been making rails to make tracks with, of course, so I can use them for the railway in the future. So yeah, I cooked up, I think, three stacks of iron for all these rails. I turned them into steel, obviously. That's what I mean by cooked up. And then I made rails out of them in the rolling machine, which I also needed RF for, hence the electrical engine. Another change is you will notice I have changed the position of the clickety-clack readout. I moved it to the right a bit because it was overlaying the enhanced heads-up display from the nanosuit helmet, as well as all of these buttons when the inventory is open, of course. So hopefully for those who look at it, which might not be many, but still like having it, I think it's neat. Lets you see what buttons I'm pressing and such. But now it should be a little more visible, hopefully, and not obscure the heads-up display. There's also a new mod that I added just now called the Catwalks mod. Had a little freeze there. Now, I haven't fully explored this mod. It adds some sturdy rails, which I believe can support themselves. It of course doesn't support Railcraft though, so it's only vanilla tracks. So probably not that useful to me. Oh dear. I have some bad air here, apparently. Let's move into the workshop again. To my skylight. Should fix that. Now, the thing I'm most interested in the catwalks mod is the caged ladder. You know, when I went down into the oil well, I used the Industrial Craft 2 miner to place ladders into the shaft. Now, obviously, when I got down into the cavern itself, where the oil was, or the majority of the oil was, it stopped placing ladders because there was nothing to place them against. The caged ladder can support itself. So if I were to use these instead of the vanilla ladder, I could place these without needing blocks to place them against, which means I could climb all the way down to the bottom without having to fall, and then place ladders to get back up, which would be handy. There's also a scaffold which works similarly to the IC2 and Artifice scaffolds, in that you can climb on them on the sides. You can't stack them by left-clicking the existing scaffolds, though, so it doesn't have that feature. What it does have, however, is you can toggle them to a builder scaffold. So you can right-click them with the tool. I think the blowtorch is the tool of this mod, and it will turn into a builder scaffold, or you can craft them, I guess, to convert back and forth. And the builder scaffold let you right-click it with a block, and the block you right-click with will replace the scaffold instead of placing against the scaffold like it would a normal block. And then you get the scaffold back into your inventory. So you can use this as a frame to outline a structure, and then you can easily place the blocks you want that structure to be made out of into the scaffolds. And the scaffolds are easy to break. They are very easy to break. There's also the support column, which I guess is just a support block to make pillars and things. It looks pretty cheap. You can see you can make a lot of these. I guess we should try it. Try a few of these things out. I do have some iron left we can use for this. This is my last iron, of course, so... but we can make a few of these grates. Now, the grates are just a crafting item. You can't do anything with them. You can't place them or anything. But, let's see, how did you make this? 4 of those. So, you get quite a lot of these for the cost, I think. Let's put the iron ingots back in there. So now we have 4 scaffolds. Now the blowtorch requires flint and steel. We can actually make that with the 3 remaining iron ingots. We just need a piece of flint. Make a flint and steel. And then do that. So now let's go back upstairs. There's a little more space here, I think. So if we place a scaffold, place 2 actually, I can climb up on them. Oh, I'm thirsty. Let's rectify that. So, as you saw, I could climb up on the side of the scaffolds. Now, if I'm holding the blowtorch, if I'm not holding the blowtorch, it works like ladders. If I let go when I'm climbing, I just go back down. However, if I hold shift, I think, no, shift doesn't work. But if I hold the blowtorch, I will stop and hold my place while next to the scaffold. I think if I... there should be a... Maybe just letting go of the blowtorch will allow me, is the way to go down. I can go up, walk on top of them. I'm not sure what the... Oh. That's interesting. So if I place them on this side while holding shift, they go on this side. Also, when I break them, I get them in my hand instead of them dropping, which is extremely handy when building across gaps and such. And as you can see, I can easily break them with my hands. I don't need any sort of tool. Now I wonder how long of a distance they support. Okay, that. So they should be the default environment stability type. So they will only extend 3 blocks out, I guess. Sounds about right. Might want to change that, or I'll leave it as a balance point, because they are pretty powerful. Not sure. We'll see. Now, if I place one, and I right-click it with the blowtorch, it becomes a builder scaffold. And if I wanted to, take a stone brick, and I right-click the builder scaffold with the stone brick. Oh. If I shift right-click it, no? Well, that's weird. Is it left-click? No? How interesting. Do I have to click? That's pretty weird. I could have sworn this worked when I tested it in a test instance. So I'm not sure why it's not working now. Might be some incompatibility with another mod, potentially. Apparently they turn back into regular scaffolds when broken. Let's try with a different block if I have any. I have a block of concrete. Let's try with some bricks. There we go. So it doesn't work with stone bricks for some reason. Oh, there we go. Okay, so it works with the builder scaffold when it was crafted into builder scaffold. But it's not working with the builder scaffold that has been toggled using the blowtorch. Maybe there is a... maybe the server, it's not toggled properly on the server, so it still thinks it's a regular scaffold. Seeing as I get a regular scaffold back when I break it, that seems likely. If so, that's probably a bug. So I'll probably try to report that to the mod author at some point. Huh, bricks don't go in the builder's backpack anymore, apparently, for some reason. How odd. Let's throw these out. That's odd. These don't go in the builder's backpack anymore. Very strange. But yeah, so that is the scaffolds or catwalks mod. The cage ladders cost a normal ladder and 3 of the steel grates, and you get 3 cage ladders apparently, which I think is pretty fair. A ladder is just wood anyways, it's not that expensive to begin with. It's the grates that cost iron, so I think 1 cage ladder for 1 grate is pretty fair. Now, the cage ladders are, of course, caged, so you can see that they are enclosed in a metal cage. Now, using the blowtorch, you can open and close this cage. So, if we remove these... Huh. Okay, so I'm not allowed in. That's weird. Okay, so there seems to be some issues with the blowtorch and the client-server sync. What I would guess is happening right here is that I have toggled the side off on the client here, so it's visually open, but on the server it is still closed. So the server won't let me enter the block because it thinks that there's still a wall here. So that is another thing I'm probably going to have to report to the author, because this worked fine in single player. Also notice that it is closed on the bottom. So if I were to climb down and say it ran out of ladders before it reached the bottom, you wouldn't just fall out of the bottom of the ladders and potentially fall to your death into a ravine or something. You would stop here and you would stand on the bottom of this floor, and you could open the sides and get out if you liked, or climb back up and give the miner more ladders. Actually, if it ran out of ladders, it would stop because it plays from the bottom up, but you get my point anyway. But yeah, so a few issues that need to be resolved before it's fully useful, I guess, because these, since they're closed by default, you need to open them to get in. The top one is always open at the top, though. That seems weird. Huh. Okay. Right. Anyway, let's put the stuff away. Put that in here. The blowtorch away. So that's... It took a little longer than I thought it would to do this, to go through all of this stuff. But, oh well. I'm going to get myself a fruit salad. But I think in the next episode we are going to look into upgrading the nuclear reactor, and I want to make a bunch of improvements to it. One is, of course, the installing steam turbines, and by that I mean Industrial Craft 2 turbines, of course. And I would also like to have a buffer of, or a bigger buffer of hot coolant. Because currently it seems that the reactor turns on and then turns off a lot. So what I would like to do is have a buffer tank. So we have this gauge here, which checks if this heat exchanger contains less than 75% coolant, hot coolant. And if it does, it sends a signal to this controller box, which will turn on the reactor. Now, if I have turbines instead of the Stirling generator, of course, I might want to have a buffer tank here that has more storage space than this can store. That's just 2,000 millibuckets, looks like, which is very little actually, a lot less than I thought. So that is why the reactor keeps turning on and off a lot. So what I would do is I would have a tank that can store, like a Railcraft tank that is 4 blocks high, can store a lot more hot coolant. So then I would have the reactor fill it up to a point, then turn off the reactor, and then wait for it to drop below, so maybe like half the last tank, so below 16 buckets. And then the reactor would turn back on, run for a while until it fills back up, and then shut down. So we would have the reactor run more rarely, but in longer bursts. I don't think that doesn't really make any difference, except it might decrease lag a little because the reactor doesn't keep turning on and off a lot. It's still an improvement I would like to make. So we're probably going to do those things in the next episode, assuming I can mine up some more iron before then, because, well, it's going to probably cost a bunch of it, and as you know, I'm all out now. So yeah, I'm going to have to do that. So, with that, I will see you in the next episode.